Hey guys, welcome to this webinar on 6 strategies to get more leads fast. I have as guests today Dan Gemp with Dreamscape and Blake Hadley with Senior Care Social. I love the shirt, Blake. It means I don't have to remember the right name for the company, so that's really cool. And I'm really excited about this because we know that the most important thing is that people are facing right now is how to get occupancy to where they need it to be. So with that, I'd actually like to start with you, Dan, and just have you talk a little bit about who you are and your personal journey into senior living and your philosophy and passion. And then Blake, I'll ask you to talk a little bit about who you are as well.
Sure. So I own Dreamscape Marketing. We're a national digital marketing agency working in about 40 states across the country. We've always worked in elective medical health care. So a lot of substance abuse, anywhere where you'd have to live somewhere and receive medical care. And that journey took us into senior living and home care models, a variety of models in the space. And we've seen a tech savviness level that's been lacking, and it looks like it's been lacking for about a decade. So what we try to do is just share all of our knowledge. I try to give my strategies away, try to do it all yourself. If you need any help, let us know. But Dreamscape Marketing is producing content, producing websites, and getting them to rank higher so that you're generating your own move-ins, your own branded inquiries. And that's been what we've learned. It's been mission critical during the COVID era. And essentially to rebuild afterwards, you're going to need Google My Business. You're going to need strong SEO, organic search engine optimization. You'll need strong paid search tactics, and you're going to need social media. So with that, I'll hand it over to Blake because that's his world.
Good. So Blake, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we're going to jump into these 6 strategies.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name is Blake Hadley. I'm the president of Senior Care Social. I have been in the healthcare industry for over a decade now, primarily working with dental practices, actually, helping them with their digital online strategy and their social media marketing strategy specifically. We provide ideas and content and strategies for senior care communities of how to use social media to really grow your census and to connect with people. And so we found that there was a real need for that. Usually you'll have someone that's in charge of social media, but they don't know what to do or what to post. So we provide those ideas and help you in that way. So our focus is really on your social media strategy.
Yep. So let's jump. I'm going to actually just walk through the 6 strategies that we're going to talk about briefly, and then we're going to do a deep dive into them. And one more thing I want to say about Dan is that a year ago now, you did a free 2-day digital conference on marketing. I presented at it, but it was really a terrific content-packed event. So I just I sort of want to give affirmation to your giving away lots of free content that's available. So here are the 6. Google Local, your Google My Listing. Second one is what your differentiation is, your specific community in the marketplace. Stories that convert, which is probably my favorite because storytelling is so important. Compelling social media, that's where Blake's going to come in. Turning visitors into leads. And the last one is we're going to talk a little bit about SEO, including sharing a really, really cool story I'm excited to get to. But Dan, let's actually start with Google Local, Google My Listing.
Sure. So Google My Business, or your Google My Business listing has been an absolute powerhouse during COVID in particular. But what we've learned is most of your inquiries for move-ins, even for home care, are local. They're hyper local. They're naming a town, not a city, right? A neighborhood even. So yeah, I live outside of Baltimore, but really I live in Columbia, but really I live in Ellicott City, and really I live in the Centennial neighborhood. And we found that the inquiries that are prompting your Google My Business listings have gotten to that hyper local level in huge volumes. You should be getting nearly as many inquiries through that channel as you're generating through your website. We've also seen that nearly all of the move-ins, high 90 percentiles during COVID for residential communities have been within 11 miles of a location. So think about this. Even if you're managing 100 CCRCs, 100 assisted living communities, when I talk about hyper local, I'm talking about draw a circle 11 miles around your property, right around each community. And that's where you're marketing, those zip codes, those town names. So in your Google My Business profile, and Blake, I'm sure you've got some 2 cents to add to this. The key factors are fully completing the profile. They've added features, they've added COVID announcement functionality. So the value of a complete profile, that's an asset that directly generates move-ins. The participation in frequently asked questions, right? And I don't just mean reviews. I'm talking about you can actually use FAQ functionality now on Google My Business. And then responding to your reviews in a compassionate brand message kind of a tone. What I find is most communities in the space are simply not participating. It's not that they're doing it wrong. It's not that they aren't aware of Google My Business. They did not complete their profile and they're not using it fully and formally. So that's my 2 cents on the matter, that you could be getting a huge quantity of inquiries. A lot of programs are seeing 30% plus of their total inquiry volume coming from Google My Business.
So it's so important, and maybe we got to touch. I want to sort of hit 2 things there. As we were talking about this, I was Googling local senior living communities in my marketplace, and I was looking at one community where in the FAQ section, somebody had posted, hey, I can't see my negative listing, that the 1-star listing that I posted about your community. And this had been there for like 2 months. And it's like, go do something about that. And so the first question is really 2 questions. How often should I be looking at my listing?
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Dan said, you should be keeping it updated just as much as you're keeping your website updated. I like to talk about it as your website before your website, because they're finding that people are searching your community and they're making phone calls and making decisions based on that Google My Business profile. A lot of times they're not even clicking to your website. They're clicking that little call button on the profile and calling you directly from there after they read some positive reviews and they see that it's close to their house after clicking the map. After seeing the services all in there. So think of it as your website. You wouldn't want your website to go outdated. Don't let your Google My Business profile go outdated.
Yeah. And I would add, one of the nice things is that Google is actually pretty good about nudging you to go back and look at it and update it. And I want to do just 1 minute on how do I get more reviews if I don't have enough.
Yeah, we've found that the best way to get more reviews is to ask people when they're actually in your community. A lot of strategies in the healthcare industry, they send an email after someone visits, and that really doesn't work. People don't click on that email after, and just decide, oh, I think I'm going to leave them a review after I see this little email after I've come in to either my appointment or my visit. But if you can make a connection while they're there, say something like, hey, your father has been here with us for years and years. We've loved having him here. We know that you've had a great experience with our community. Would you do us a favor, or could you help us out, is a really good way to ask for a review. And usually when you ask it that way, most people will not say, no, I don't want to help you guys out. Most people will say, sure, I'd love to help you. And then the key is to provide a really easy way for them to get to your Google My Business profile. So something that we provide at Senior Care Social is a way that you can send them a link, a text message that they can click directly to your page very easily and quickly. If it's not something like that, maybe look over their shoulder and guide them through how to do it right then and there. But make it easy and talk to them while they're there.
That's terrific. Okay, so let's move on to differentiation. How do you set, there's sort of a public perception, Dan, that everybody, every senior living community is kind of more or less the same, maybe a little closer to my house, further away, a little more expensive, a little less expensive. How do I actually tell my story in a way that makes me look better, different, better than everybody else?
Sure. Yeah. So, and this is, overarching marketing, right? This impacts your sales and outreach efforts. This impacts, resident referrals. This impacts a lot, but differentiation can be done a few ways. And I think that it's become more limited. You have to go digital first with a lot of it in the current environment. You're not going to get in-person tours, which is how a lot of you have been differentiating, right? So lifestyle marketing, the way you would market a cruise or a resort, right? That consumer marketing, it needs to be paired with unique features, right? Unique staff members. Who are you going to introduce to the public? Who is going to have a meaningful impact on their life? Is it Chef Tony? Is it the activities coordinator? Is it super outgoing residents that are acting as ambassadors to your brand? But presenting that lifestyle and then pairing it with levels of care. If you have specialty memory care programs, if it's assisted living specifically. So make sure that you're not just doing lifestyle advertising. Make sure that you're marketing it in conjunction with what you've got as transparently as you can. The one unique, I'll say novel approach that we've seen in terms of digital assets, like photography, video, is food. Okay. Pictures of beds and food is truly what sells any kind of lifestyle, sale. Right. And so we've been doing partnerships with dining programs, with Unidine, right, the providers, and they're providing photography and PDF menus and nutritional information. And if you think about it, what do you spend most of your time doing? Where does a large portion of joy come from? And it's shared meals, it's social engagement, which always includes snacks. So consider that in your lifestyle marketing, I don't mean luxury and amenities and tennis courts and things like that. I'm talking about the basics. What's for breakfast? What does my room look like? Is the staff approachable and engaging? So in terms of your differentiation, all things being equal, the fact that the public perception is all assisted livings are the same or all CCRCs are the same, just use your own menu and your own people to differentiate and make sure that you're pitching lifestyle in coordination with your levels of care.
I want to actually dig just a little bit deeper into that. So we've talked about food, but in terms of language of lifestyle, do you have any thoughts about what language works pretty well as you're describing lifestyle besides pictures?
Yes. Surprisingly, it is the most direct, simplistic language. Okay. But here's what we've seen working well. Would you rather have lunch today in a cafeteria or dining hall, or would you rather have lunch today in a bistro? And do you want to meet up for drinks later in the rest area, or do you want to meet up for drinks later at the American pub that's on location, right? So the marketing spin on some very normal things, you do need to make sure that your word choice is simple and approachable, right? But fun. And would you, again, your personal preference, do you want to get coffee at the cafe or in the cafeteria? Same thing, but one has marketing value and people will embrace that.
This is so fascinating. I was at a dental appointment a couple of weeks ago, and I took a walk after my appointment, and there were all these outdoor sort of old Sacramento dining venues, and I was walking through that. It just to speak to this point, I walked here past all these restaurants, and I thought, man, I got to come down here and try that. And it's the same kind of appeal. So I really, really like that a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to spend my golden years in a dining hall. I want to hang out at the bistro.
That's right. I mean, nobody ever goes by a McDonald's, right? As a sort of the dining hall is, you go to McDonald's because it's fast and it's cheap and it's easy, but you don't go there for the experience unless maybe you're 4 years old and you want to go play outside.
Exactly. Well, one thing I maybe could add to that is something that we found, especially with social media. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is talking about what they make or what they do rather than talking about what they make possible. So I think, you could show a photo of your beautiful room, your beautiful kitchen, your dining area, just snapping a photo of that is good. And I think it can help a lot in using the right language. But if you can show what you make possible because of the things that you have and because of the nice facility that you have, it'll go a lot further. So for example, your example, Dan, of talking about a pub, right? Of having a pub inside of your community. I saw a story, a post on one of the senior communities page that talked about how a few of the guys got together during COVID and they created like a pub, a little club where they drank together every, week or once a week. And they put up a little sign and stuff inside of the area. And they were just having a fun time together. And, posting about that, the experiences that people are having in your community will go a lot further than just posting a photo and say, this is our pub, or this is our look at how nice it is. Show why it's.
Yeah, it's not a real estate transaction that you're marketing. It's a lifestyle transaction.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's an interesting battle that we face, right? Is, are we selling care or a lifestyle? There are some of us who believe that the care should be table stakes and lifestyle should be the thing that we actually do, and we just do the care to enable the lifestyle. And I'm not sure we always get that right. So we're going to run out of time here. I want to talk about stories that can.
Yes.
So let's start talking about stories. And I think there are two parts. Is how do you find the stories, and then how do you tell them in the best way? And I'll let you sort of pick on, and Blake, I know we're gonna sort of circle back on this again when we hit SEO. So I'm gonna sort of mostly hold your stuff until you have that. And that's a great question. Just ask about when you start out. We'll get to that in the process of this. So Dan, how do we do this?
Sure. So format matters. Okay. So for storytelling, all general marketing, branding, how everyone perceives you, even if you're new, right? A brand new location, right? You need a format that is easily digested. So video. This industry is horrifically guilty of not using video enough. There are entire companies now built around video that are succeeding wildly during these times. And so you need to find a way to leverage video as a format. Okay. If you don't have residents yet, interview your staff, show some excitement. Again, not just amenities, your people, your chef, your activities coordinators. Even if it's a real estate developer, right? Why did you build this? Of all the things you could have built, why are you building this place, this community? And so even a mediocre storyteller on video can turn into a great storyteller. You prompt them with a simple question. You can Google these things. You can look up, right? Most compelling messages in a YouTube video, right? And there's tutorials on this stuff. So you can become a producer overnight, and you can say something meaningful and impactful, and demonstrating it on video is truthful and sincere. So when Chef Tony says, "Hey, your mama is my mama," that just made a connection. That's trust. You know that Chef Tony is going to take care of your mother, right? And I'm oversimplifying it, but that's the value of video. Heart to heart marketing. Okay. So there's this concept of H to H, human to human, right? Your team members have their own stories. They have their own interactions. They might have been primary caretakers of their own parents, and they're extremely passionate about this. Certainly after COVID and the health risks involved for themselves, you've got the most passionate staff you've ever had right now, and you've got some heroes. So highlight them. It shows an investment in them, that you're building a brand around them, that you trust them. But you're going to get the most meaningful messages and storytelling firsthand. And they're going to name names. They're going to say, one of my favorite residents, I was talking to Martha, and she actually was a nurse during World War II. Wow, is she amazing. And we meet in the bistro for drinks on Tuesdays. Those kind of videos and that heart-to-heart messaging is what becomes relatable content. And that can be shared on social media. That can be shared on your website. And your sales team, again, for lack of in-person tours, instead of just showing a tour and saying, you got to look at it, you can actually emote feelings through these videos. You can say, oh, you can actually see what it's like to be a valued resident in our community and how that's different from the tour you just took down the street. So this heart-to-heart marketing is featuring your people, and the goal is an emotional response, not a sales pitch. The technology itself, right? So why are we talking about this storytelling? I'm a digital marketing guy. The internet has broken retail distribution, okay? Social media allows you to engage in two-way dialogue instead of one-way broadcast like a billboard saying, hey, are you old? You should move in here, right? That's rude. That's the equivalent of saying like, hey, boomer, right? So what you need to do is embrace two-way communication, dialogue that can be done through live chat on your website, video chat. You can have a link. You can pre-schedule video meetings with potential move-ins, potential residents. So use these tools to engage in dialogue. You have not succeeded unless you're having two-way conversations like this. And then I would even say that highlighting a life well lived, right? Was it worth it? People are trying to evaluate the value of moving into a retirement community, CCRC, assisted living. It's not necessarily an acute decision. So highlighting a life well lived, you're kind of showing what their investment is going to get them, right? Why should I downsize and hang out with a whole bunch of people with shared interests? Because of that, but you have to show it. So the club that Blake was referencing, right? The Bourbon Boys hanging out one day a week. That's the kind of content and storytelling you need to be featuring. And then same thing with your staff members. Why do they enjoy coming up with new choreography for dance class on Wednesday nights? What is the joy that is the actual deliverable in your community? That is the story to be shared. During COVID, what we've seen is effective storytelling didn't talk about safety protocols in a sterile medical environment. It talked about the results. Hey, we did a whole bunch of safety stuff and all the protocols are in place. We've had no COVID cases among staff or residents for 90 days. And look, we're having a dance party, right? Look at our mask policy on Halloween, and everybody's wearing a mask, but it's a Batman mask. That is meaningful storytelling, and it makes people feel safe and valued and a member of a community instead of isolation, which is their actual fear. COVID isn't the fear right now. It's like the 7th decision-making criteria. It's still affordability, and there's a fear of isolation. So with that, I'll shut up. But the storytelling really needs to follow those themes to be successful.
Well, sort of two other quick things I want to just touch bases on. That is that you sort of alluded to this, but this doesn't. You're not talking about stuff that requires a film crew and storyboarding and $5,000. In fact, I would add that most of the time when I see those videos, they're just painfully boring. They're perfectly produced and painfully boring, and yep, probably do more damage. And I want to reiterate what you said. I would love to see more videos where my dream for you when you move in this community is to, or as you talked about, we changed Mabel's life by moving in. She fell in love. Those are the kinds. Yep. This could happen. This could happen for your dad. There's a Mabel here for your dad, just waiting. Powerful. Yeah,
and it's iPhone level production, right? Tell a love story, tell a social story. Here's a group of friends that never knew each other. They lived within 11 miles of each other for 30 years, and now they're best friends. And again, staff members, feature your team. There's a lot of really good messaging that does not need to be controlled. Ask them a simple question. Why do you work here? What are you hoping to accomplish? Who do you like hanging out with? And you'll be amazed at the answers. They really do believe in what they're doing. Yeah.
Tell me about your favorite resident, right? I mean, what a great way to fire it up. So the one other thing I want to say is I think sometimes people don't feel like the stories are big enough, and sometimes the best, most heart-to-heart stories are these tiny little just snippet stories that just tug at people's heartstrings. So, okay, let's jump Blake to social media. I think that, we see a lot. It seems like most senior living communities have a Facebook page now, and somebody shoots pictures, but pretty soon they all look the same.
Yeah. One thing I kind of wanted to add, and this kind of ties into social media of what you were talking about, the key to storytelling is authenticity. And I think social media has allowed communities to really be authentic with their message and with their videos. It's kind of gone are the days of these polished videos. I mean, nice videos are still nice to have, but don't feel like you need to always create a perfect polished video. I think Steve's actually really good at this when he creates little promotional videos for webinars and things that he does. He just turns on his camera, does the, flips the camera to the front facing camera and just talks as if he was talking to anybody else. They've found that authenticity is really what goes a long way on social media. In fact, we always used to turn our phones horizontally when we take a video before. They're finding that 75% of people prefer watching a video vertically. This is how people hold their phones. It's more off the cuff, it's more authentic. And these stories and these short snippets that Steve was talking about of content and video content is really what people are resonating with more. So the more moments that you can capture in your community and through video, the tools that are on your phone now are incredible. How you can cut video, how you can add effects, add GIFs, there's so many fun things that you can do now just with your phone. There's no need for that crew that we talk about to do that really anymore, unless you want to have a nice video on your website or something.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I want to say you don't always get it right. I don't know whether you guys saw, but we did a flash sale for our Evolve conference, and that I shot a little promo sitting in my hot tub. And I actually,
of course we saw.
and I had great views on it, I have to tell you. But I will tell you that I had a couple of people who thought it was inappropriate, and so I pulled it down. But it was no big deal. I mean, and I could have argued it, but my goal was not to offend. And so I would just say, sometimes you're gonna get it wrong, and that's okay. You just move on. It feels terrible at the moment, but a week from now, nobody will ever remember. So Blake, I should be posting video. What else should I be posting? How much should I be posting? What else should I be doing with social?
Yeah, so we talk about the 3 R's of social media marketing when we talk to the healthcare industry, and they're really reach, relationships, and reputation. So everything that you do should fall under one of these 3 R's, or that should be the purpose. So if you reach more people, social media is where people are these days. So you can really reach the most amount of people through a good content strategy. You have to really understand the algorithm of Facebook and Instagram so that you can create content that actually will spread and people will see. That actually requires putting a little bit of money into every single post that you put on Facebook so that people will actually be guaranteed to see your content, but also creating engaging content that people will want to like, comment, and share. That's the way more people will, that's the way it will reach more people. So reach, that's the first R. Relationships. Social media is great at not only building relationships with the family members of your residents, but also creating relationships with community, your local community. People can see who's in your community and interact with them and comment on the posts about the things that they're doing. And you can also build relationships between staff members and the residents through social media. We've seen just coming up with fun ideas to post on social media, whether it's dance parties like Dan mentioned, or just fun things that they're doing with their activities, and then posting those photos of them together on social media really builds those relationships. And then the third is that reputation. And we have found, especially during this pandemic, how social media can really improve your reputation by posting about what you're doing in your community to keep your residents safe, talking about all your protocols and posting about your reviews and what people are saying about your community really can help your reputation. So that's kind of the mix that we talk about: reach, relationships, and reputation. And then we focus on what type of content that you should be putting out there as well. We think that 50% of your content should be about your residents. about the experience that they're having inside of your community. 30% should be about your team. What is your team? What are they doing in the relationships that they're building? And then 20% can be informational, or photos of your facility and things like that are just, so some of it are just kind of content fillers, or trying to educate people about health and just different things about the senior care industry that you want to post. But that's kind of the content mix. So focus on your residents and the experiences that they're having.
One thing we actually didn't talk about at all is platforms. Thoughts?
Yeah, really. So Facebook and Instagram, I would say focus on those two. Twitter has kind of become, an opinion, political platform. We haven't really seen that work too well as far as promoting and marketing your community. But Facebook is still the overall leader. Most adults are using Facebook. Further, you hear sometimes about, the upcoming generation is not on Facebook and they don't like Facebook, but it still is the leader as far as adults that are using the platform. And then Instagram is actually growing faster than any other platform. It's growing faster than Facebook. So be sure you have a good Instagram presence and that you're posting there as well, and using some of the new technology or the new features of Instagram as far as stories go. Reels is something they just recently released. And start using those new things, because they're kind of on the forefront of what's going to be the future of social media. So be sure to use the new things that they release.
And I'll add to that for search engine purposes, right, to rank better, Google My Business is the only answer, right? It's not directly social media, but that's how we view it. And you've got to make sure that your topics are on trend, right? You've got to be using keywords in the posts you're making and the articles you're sharing. And that your photography is up to date, right? You can see photos in your Google My Business profile. It's a little bit odd to see the most recent photos being posted of your Christmas party when it's April, right? And so make sure to at least be seasonally on trend. And otherwise, if it's the right season, feature the holidays, feature your people. But it's odd to see, if it's the summertime, it's odd to see people wearing sweaters. If it's the wintertime, it's odd to see people in shorts outside. So refresh those things, maybe quarterly at a bare minimum, and more frequently if you can.
Google My Business has, sorry.
Can I post video on Google Local?
Yes.
Yeah, Google My Business actually has a really good app if you want to download the app on your phone. And so that makes it a little bit easier. If you're already uploading content to Instagram and Facebook from your phone, just open your Google My Business app and add it there as well.
Cool. And then just one more quick question, and then I want to move on. And we've got two more topics we've got to hit. How frequently should I be posting on social media? We
suggest 3 times a week is kind of a good amount of content. But really it's whatever you can consistently maintain is kind of the key. So don't, 1 week you're posting a whole bunch and then the next week you don't post anything. Try to keep it consistent. If you're consistent, it will help you with the Facebook and Instagram algorithm that I talked about, to keep your content being seen.
Perfect. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how do we get people to go from being a visitor on your homepage and maybe on your social media and turn those into people that you can actually have a conversation with about how great your community is.
Sure. So essentially, how do you turn traffic into an actual lead, the sales lead? And hey, it's okay to speak in business terms here, right? I know that we're in the people business, but you do need to make money to still have a community, right? And I've seen a lot of groups that they're a little scared, like, oh no, our census is down, highly due to COVID, but we don't want to be seen as salesy. And it's like, well, hey, that's okay if you're offering value and information. You're not going to trick somebody into moving in. I say this all the time. You're not going to trick me into getting my mother to live in your community. All right. But if she relates to the content and I relate to the content, I'll absolutely fill out a form or give you a phone call. So there's been a massive shift to digital first marketing, not a little bit, most of your market share, more than half, is going to come in through your website. We've seen some communities higher than 80%, okay, of their inquiries, of their leads are coming in through their own website, okay? So to put content on there and convert it to leads through forms, through downloadable PDF documents, videos, you can even Google conversion rate optimization. You have to structure your website as a funnel. You want to control a user's experience and behavior on your website, right? And that's the science behind what we do for a living, but you can control whether or not they fill out a form. We've been using assessment tools a lot to get more conversions on the same amount of traffic. Rubric, ROOBRIK, is a questionnaire style assessment tool to see if your community is a good match for an individual's needs and considerations. I've seen huge increases in conversion rates just from contact forms, from an assessment tool like Rubric, and meaningful contact, right? So inviting someone for a video chat is a whole lot more meaningful than just saying live chat, right? Picture an adult child who's at work chatting with you and they're distracted. Picture someone who's with their parent and their parent is trying to live chat you and it's just not going well. It's a lot easier to just have a click to call video chat button on your website that takes them to a Zoom account or a Google Hangouts, or just sets an appointment. You can have a meeting setting form. So taking these visitors and asking them to just meet with you is not rude, is not salesy, it's not invasive. They're literally on your website. They Googled something, chose you out of all the results, and want more information. I think that the two closing mechanism, right, the sales mechanisms that I've seen the whole industry is terrible with, okay, is CRM usage and not letting a lead go too long without calling back. So we will actually, to test our own clients, we'll call, right, as a ghost shopper essentially. And I've had clients that are extremely, good at what they do, not get back to me for 3 weeks. For all they know, I'm a millionaire. I just sold my mansion. I've got a bucket of cash and I'm ready to move in right now. And I've got a brother and an in-law and we're all going to move in as a package, right? And you didn't call me back for 3 weeks. Well, during that time, I spoke with 11 other places and I moved into one. So you just lost a large opportunity by not getting back. I don't mean quickly. I'm saying you have 5 minutes, not a day, not the next day, not a week. If you receive a contact form inquiry, you have 5 minutes before you've lost that lead to a competitor. Okay. We've got clients that are not tracking their phone calls. Well, your phone calls should automagically create a new record, a new lead in your CRM system. That technology is readily available on all of the major CRMs in the whole industry. If you don't know how to use it, or you don't know how to plug in a tool like call tracking metrics, where the phone number can change on your website based on how somebody gets there. If you don't know how to plug that into your CRM, have someone do it. It doesn't take long. It's like a 15-minute integration. And so I think that, using these conversion tools in your website, video chat, getting people to really engage with your contact forms and downloadable content and featuring videos prominently, that's how you get their attention. But you're doing yourself a disservice if they don't immediately go into a sales CRM, client relationship management system, right? And it doesn't integrate with all of your stuff. We've been doing integrations day in and day out. We just did one on Welcome Home CRM the other day. 5 seconds, right, to plug in call tracking metrics straight into CRM. And what you're going to see is you'll have fewer leads missed, fewer opportunities missed, and your cost per move-in will be way, 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 way less expensive. And your dependency on lead aggregators in the industry who are charging a premium for some of these tools and these move-ins, your costs will go down. You can spend less there and still succeed and grow your census. So that's my rant for the day. Blake, feel free to add your 2 cents.
Let me say one thing, and then we'll get to you, Blake. As we were planning for this, we sort of decided we weren't going to talk about it, but I'm actually going to jump into it just a little bit, Dan. We see communities that are so willing to pay the lead aggregators huge move-in fees because they don't have to pay them until after the move-in is over. And if they invest just a little bit more money in doing things like SEO optimization and putting these tools in where it does require the money up front, they would pay a ton less money. I'm going to write about this week. I'll write it this week before the week is over. But I just, it can save in an individual community. It can save $5, $10, $15,000 a month, not a year, a month. So I'm just stealing your rant. And there was a question, if you don't mind me, we love Welcome Home. You mentioned it. Somebody had asked what the best CRM system are. There are a bunch of good systems, but Welcome Home is a supporting partner, and we love them a lot. Okay, and the leads get cold thing is just sort of crazy making. Well, let's talk about SEO. Does it matter? Is it important? How do you make it work? I know you've actually, Dan, got a great story to tell.
Sure. Yeah. Talking about storytelling. So SEO, search engine optimization, right? That's the science to get your website ranking at the top of non-paid search results. So there will be 3 or 4 paid ads at the top of every search result. There will be the local listings, the Google Map pack, right? And then there will be the unpaid search results. And those get the most clicks. The number one unpaid search result gets about 37% out of all of the clicks from every search. Okay. Paid ads combined only get 17% of the clicks. So your dollars will go further, and the equity value of your marketing will be higher. It'll be more permanent when you attain higher rankings for the organic SEO, okay, for those non-paid results. You do want to do this in combination with pay-per-click ads, with Google ads, right? And so people that are prepared to make a purchase, there are those that are only browsing and you'll get their attention through a paid ad, but your organic visitors are prepared to make a purchase. That's an informed consumer doing or completing their research, and your move-in rate will be insanely high from that channel compared to all others, okay? Facebook, you'll get a lot of first-time engagement, friends, fans, family members would be the audience. You build trust, but the sales cycle can be longer. But SEO, one Google search, one phone call can be one move-in quickly. So the key strategies here are hyper-local targeting. You need to rank, I was mentioning towns earlier. You need to rank for all of the towns and counties and regions and shopping plazas, however someone might identify where they live. That's what you need to rank for, right? Not just senior living Baltimore, right? But senior living near me. And that would need to be, near Columbia, near Centennial. You also very much need to make sure that you're outranking the national lead aggregator sites, right? So if you're not ranking for your own name or in your own town, if you're in Northfield, Indiana, is the story I was going to share today, you can conquest your own market share back pretty easily, right? If you're physically there, if you're located there, even if you have a small website, you can rank, at the top of search results, maybe not number one. But what we learned during COVID, we had a client engage with us in May, and right at the height of lockdowns and such. What we basically saw was once they outranked, it took about 60 days, once they outranked the lead aggregators for their own town, for Northfield, Indiana, their call volume increased 207% a month from then on. So it's interesting, if you're almost being sold your own market share back, right? You're doing yourself a disservice if you're underinvesting in SEO. And you can be bad at it. You can be doing SEO with an amateur. And you need to assess that however you'd like. So realizing that that's the amount of market share at stake, right? Going from position 7 to position 1, and you can double or triple your inbound inquiries, right? The demand has been there the whole time. The digital volumes have increased from the start of COVID until now. So if you were digital first at the start of COVID, your census is fine. If you increase digital during COVID, your census is trending up right now and will continue. There is a backlog for all levels of care right now, all community types. So this organic SEO, the story I'm telling, it was a low budget, nice, good brand, good reputation, kind of a turnaround project, slightly updated website, and conquesting that local market share. And you will see phenomenal results from that and it would be bolstered by your other digital marketing. So if you also have cool posts and a good demonstration of community and comfort on your social media, that will amplify your SEO. And your paid ads, your PPC, just to sum it all up, that's your throttle control. You might need to spend more or less depending on your, monthly census levels and your goals. But I think a lot of groups underspend. I've had groups tell me flat out, they're like, I would spend up to $2,500 per move-in. Okay, how many move-ins are you trying to generate? 4. Okay, you should spend $10,000 on paid search ads. That's insane. You're insane. But it's the math they just gave me, right? You want 4 move-ins. It will cost about $2 or $3 grand to generate that at your assisted living. But then you just said you're not willing to make the exact investment you defined. So challenge yourselves, challenge your models, go to the board and tell them, hey, your budget might be wildly off for digital. It should have been a 15 to 30% increase for 2021 over 2020, even if you increased your budget in 2020. And I'll leave it there.
So first of all, I want a couple of things. I've got a couple of questions we want to get to. We're sort of past our time, but these are great questions that we need to talk about. So the first thing is that that Dreamscape has actually put together a case study on how they help this community go to ranking #1 in 60 days. And so we're going to make that available to you. I'm actually going to drop it into the chat right now. There's a number that you can text to, and just text the word SEO, and we will get that out to you shortly after the webinar is over. So I'm gonna and Dan's offered a couple of great comments in here, but let me hit a couple of these questions here. Any thoughts or feedback on virtual sales assistants?
On the concept of virtual sales assistants?
I mean, do they work?
Yeah, a lot of groups, again, if you're understaffed or you don't have a quick reply, we've seen some automated chat bots that work well. And we've had, call center style virtual assistants work well also. So basically, if you're not picking up the phone quickly, or you're not getting back to forms quickly, then you will dramatically benefit from that, either from an answering service kind of virtual assistant or from a chat bot. They make live chat now where you can kind of make it multiple choice question and answer format. So evaluate what you do have. And if you don't have quick response options in place, then yes, you should absolutely look into virtual assistants. Blake, have you guys had any experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key, I feel like every single, web chat and, Facebook messaging, everybody has an auto response that you can put in there if you can't get to that lead quickly. I think the key to auto responses is just that you make it clear how soon you will get back to that person. Whenever I do one of those chats, if it's just general that says, email us or we'll email you back, that's kind of frustrating for me. But if they say, I'm going to email you back within 24 hours, or we'll get back to you within that amount of time, and then it's done, I think that's key. That's kind of addresses Dan's 5-minute response time. Obviously, it's not as good as if you have someone there and ready to respond, but it helps. So, yeah.
Just consider hiring a full-time employee. If you feel like you have the need, bring someone in, and maybe you'll use them forever if it succeeds, and maybe you won't if it doesn't. But you've got to test it out. If you're not giving immediate call handling and immediate form responses, then you need some kind of a virtual assistant or an AI chat bot to be a little futuristic with it.
Yep.
That's what universities are all doing. Colleges are using this nationwide.
Yeah. So Dan, I want to just, you put in several specific things that people can do to how to rank higher, and let's just sort of run briefly through those because we're about out of time. So sure. You suggested blog frequently with articles using your actual geographic keywords, generate backlinks that link back to you, and business directories. And so these are all really, really good. So there, this is, I guess, what's sort of, I think the message here, the overarching message that both of you have, and that I believe, is that this is a great, coming out of the pandemic, this is actually a great opportunity to beat the competition. But you can't beat the competition by doing it the same old way. You've got to do these things. You've got to use new tools. You've got to use better tools. And I think many communities can be as full as they've ever been by the end of the year. So Blake, last words, and then Dan, I'll get some last words from you.
Yeah, I guess my last words are, be sure that you're using social media. I think I have been kind of scouring the whole, a lot of communities' social media accounts, and I feel like there can be a lot of improvement in the senior care industry with social media and keeping people updated. And it's really powerful. Even talking about SEO, Facebook and Instagram is starting to be ranked on those first pages now. And you want to just show up in a lot of different places. People are doing so much more, so much research before they even pick up the phone to call you online. They're looking at your Facebook page, your Instagram page. They're seeing what directories you're on. They're looking at your Google My Business. There's so much that they're doing. And if they can only find you in one place, or if they go to your Facebook page and they want to know what you're really about, your website looks beautiful, but if they really want to know who are you and who are the people that are there and what are the experiences that they're having, they're going to go to your Facebook page. And if they go to your Facebook page and it's just stock graphics, it's not going to tell them that story that we've talked about. So be sure that your presence is strong everywhere, and that includes social media.
Perfect. Dan?
I would say that you need to assess your investments in your digital marketing. You're likely underinvesting in your website itself. It is probably underperforming if you realize that it is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week salesperson. It can directly generate near-term and immediate-term move-ins. So you're probably underinvesting in it compared to what's your own salary, and then contrary to that, what have you invested in your website in the last 12 months? Okay, so think about that. And now your digital marketing strategies, the actual campaigns that will capture market share and direct move-ins. I say this very confidently. You are under investing in your SEO, right? If you Google senior living SEO, we're first. I'm investing adequately in my SEO. If you're not first for the keywords that you would search, right? You're an American consumer. Everyone shops online the way you shop online. So if it wouldn't work on you, then your website and rankings or lack thereof won't work on your target market, on your audience. So balance out your paid search. If you need move-ins soon, now, spend a lot more on Google ads and Bing ads. If you're looking for long-term growth and to conquest that geographic market, you're underinvesting in SEO. I can almost guarantee that. And then take a look at your website, but view it through the lens of, oh, my website's a salesperson. It's a storyteller. It's talking about the food we serve, the people we have, the experiences that you'll have when you join our community, right? That's how you build a brand and reputation and get those free move-ins, right, from a happy community that wants all their friends and loved ones to move into.
Right. And somebody asked how many times posting online, and we talked sort of three times a week would be kind of ideal. I'm not sure how you feel about it. In my business, we've sort of discovered that you hardly can post too much. The key to it is it's got to be good stuff and not junk. But if you're posting the right stuff, different people are on different times of the day, and it's hard to overpost.
Yeah, and you have to remember that not every single post that you put out there is going to be seen by every one of your followers. A very small amount of your followers will actually see everything that you post. Yep. And so it never hurts to post more.
Yeah. And we should stop. But I want to ask you, Dan, you posted twice that you need to be blogging. I don't see very many people doing blogging. Can you talk about that for just a minute?
So essentially, if the words don't exist on your website, you will not rank for them. And so you have to be a net publisher of content. You need to be producing new and more content. so that your website is way bigger a year from now than it is now. And that is also what we call link bait. The more content you have about aging during COVID or moving into an assisted living during COVID, the more of that content you have that people might be searching for, the more likely other websites are to link to it. And so then your total domain authority, the equity value of your website, it just gets higher and higher and higher the more you publish content. So my challenge to you is actually first quantity, then quality, right? Quality does matter, but none of you are attaining a quantity that is giving you dominant market share. And if you are, email me. I haven't seen it yet, so I'd be happy to audit that and give you a high five and gracefully, publicly say how amazing you are.
Good. Well, how many times blog? How many times a week, a month?
At least once a week. At least once a week, preferably twice, would be enough to make progress.
And how long? How long do the articles need to be?
Anywhere from 600 to 1,200 words. Get an image in there. Use some bullet points. Make it easy to digest. And use your keywords high up on the page. The words you want to rank for. It matters that they're, quote, above the fold on your screen before you scroll down.
Perfect. Great stuff. This is terrific. Want to do one final thing. Dan, can you type your website into your chat so people can find you? And we will also read, there we go. And Blake, the same thing. So dreamscapemarketing.com. They're doing some amazing stuff with their senior living clients to do this. It is recorded. We will make it available to you in the next day or so. So, and it'll be either today or tomorrow, because we also believe that fast is important. So, Blake, Dan, great conversation. I know we could actually go for another hour, but I really appreciate the wisdom, and these guys can really help you do amazing things and get your buildings fuller than they've ever been.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks everybody for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much.